Many WNBA fans are calling out the referee problem.
The referees literally turned their back.
Caitlin Clark appears to be hunted every game. She deals with physicality that no other player in the league is dealing with. The WNBA not stepping in to protect their cash cow, their only draw, their only star, and this is the end result.
They assured them that she would transform the league. They hailed her as the future's face, but none anticipated that the league itself may be her greatest challenge. Caitlin Clark went from being the WNBA's most adored poster child to becoming the league's biggest opponent in just a few games.
It's shocking.
Caitlin Clark will be sidelined for at least 2 weeks
with a quad injury.
Footage has emerged how Caitlin Clark got hurt.
He fouls her for the 4th time. It's cheating.
Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the interest in the Fever and the interest in the WNBA.
Rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls.
Not only from opposing teams, either this was not your typical situation of a rookie going through growth pains. What transpired appeared far more calculated and risky.
After every single game, WNBA players, fans, coaches are all complaining about the referees, and they have shown that they're not going to change anything because the referees continue to be horrible.
The referees, who were meant to maintain fairness, stood by like extras in a bad drama while Caitlin Suffer-Knox was pushed to the ground and had to play through a sea of missed whistles game after game. What started as sporadic mistakes that swiftly turned into a widespread problem of no calls, allowing obvious fouls to occur while Clark hit the deck. To show your support, leave a comment below with Protect CC down.
Felines head coach Stephanie White, she was complaining about her team not getting a whistle, not being respected.
Then came the time when nobody wanted Caitlin to be sidelined due to a quad injury, and fans began to record every uncalled foul, unchecked body check, and look she gave the officials pleading for a whistle that never blew.
She will be out for 2 weeks minimum following a quad strain.
Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham going to the officials and trying to, ask for an explanation of what had just occurred. That official completely stonewalled them.
It no longer appeared to be bad luck. It became apparent that it was deliberate. And just as the discussion was getting heated, fresh information started to surface that revealed how flawed this officiating system actually is.
This is a WNBA problem, and as more and more eyeballs are watching this league, it becomes growingly an issue. The officiating feels you never have a true grasp on what it's going to.
As it happens, a large number of the league's referees were taken from, you guessed it, high school leagues, and they aren't even using their own discretion while calling games. No, the league depends on GMs, coaches, and other stakeholders communicating to referees behind the scenes how physically they want games to be played.
Referees are not listening to them. They're not listening to the coaches. They're not listening to the players. They're not listening to the fans. They're listening to their stakeholders. That's why I keep saying nothing is going to change till the mindset and whoever's running all of this, the stakeholders, governance, whoever these people are.
And in the midst of this pandemonium, where influence, ego, and money meet, is Caitlin Clark. The WNBA is finally feeling the heat after weeks of mounting indignation, with viral videos going viral and even coaches and players speaking out.
This injury does anything. It should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear overnight.
If it doesn't take immediate action, the league's biggest vulnerability could turn out to be lawsuit rumors and referee bias. And now for the big question. To shut down the same player they have been profiting from since day one, how far will they go?
Caitlin Clark is being roughed up, but the physical wear and tear on Caitlin Clark, I'm not surprised that 2 weeks into the season, she's already got an injury.
Caitlin Clark is a person who never backs down. Upon returning to Iowa, she transformed women's hoops into primetime television, attracted millions of viewers, and rewrote the record books. Everyone anticipated pyrotechnics when she joined the WNBA, not only from her performance, but also from the enthusiasm she would create for a league in dire need of a miracle.
2024 was a year of unprecedented growth in viewership in the WNBA, a substantial amount of which can be attributed to Caitlin Clark, who took the basketball world by storm after an all-time college career.
Who had appeared in 185 consecutive games between her career at Iowa and her time with the Indiana Fever. 139 games with the Iowa Hawkeyes. She never missed one.
And for a minute, it was working. Attendance skyrocketed. TV ratings reached all-time highs. However, Clark was greeted with an elbows-up attitude and animosity right away rather than the league showing him the red carpet.
Caitlin Clark, somebody who was responsible for 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity last season, including revenue from merchandise, ticket sales, and television.
Caitlin Clark out at least 2 weeks waited, but can the WNBA maintain without her? Can the WNBA pack arenas draw ratings?
When she first onto the court as a professional, basketball wasn't the only thing on her mind. It was also personal. Each game was like a gauntlet. She received full-court pressure, off-ball hacks, and floor contact that belonged in a rugby battle rather than a basketball game, and the referees were nowhere to be seen. The defenders weren't just protecting her. They were bodying her like it was UFC fight night, contact that would have earned a whistle. Nothing was given to Clark by any other elite player. She often had to clench her teeth and persevere.
Referees just exposed their hand so bad, bro. I mean, they just didn't care no more. They didn't care. The world was watching how bad the cause was. They didn't care at all. They was going to get their issue off against the Fever no matter what. And I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what went down, bro. They have an agenda against Caitlin Clark.
The league continued to follow the same stale path. She simply needs to adapt, but why is it always her responsibility to change? Why is Caitlin Clark the only celebrity advised to get tougher while everyone else is given crown jewel protection, and then she gets hurt? Caitlin was declared out due to a left quad strain after playing game after game for an incredible amount of time, often up to 35 minutes per night for at least 2.
Said the reason that people are complaining is because they haven't watched the WNBA before, and these are just new fans who don't understand. But there's clearly an issue.
It wasn't just a setback, it was a gut punch to the Indiana Fever and a massive loss for the entire WNBA, and for a whole lot of fans, it didn't feel like a freak accident, it felt like the price of neglect, like the end result of a season's worth of unchecked aggression, and a league that didn't.
Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark has suffered a left quadricep strain and will be out for a minimum of 2 weeks.
Take care of the only player who was keeping the lights on. This wasn't some unavoidable twist of fate. It was a disaster that could have been dodged. What made it sting even more, the deafening silence. The league didn't utter a word about the beatings Caitlin Clark had been enduring. No statements, no apologies, just another name has been added to the list of injuries. This wasn't just any name, though. This represented the new age of the WNBA. She was seated not because she couldn't withstand the heat, but rather because the system that was supposed to protect her turned its back on her.
It's the Caitlin Clark disrespect. And what I mean by that is you've got somebody who is obviously the most popular player in basketball. You got somebody that I would argue may be a top 5 most popular athlete in the United States of America. All right. You got this athlete in a league that nobody's been watching, never turned a profit, and your system is broken against that team.
Even the court's members alluded to the problem. A teammate of Kelsey Mitchell Clark gently urged her to pay attention to her body's signals. A subtle acknowledgement that Caitlin was enduring suffering that most people would avoid. Fans saw that it was emphasized in media channels. The most pressing question now is who stands to benefit from the league's brightest star's departure, and why she was left so exposed.
Kelsey Mitchell said even if there is a injury, hopefully it's just, like a little nagging thing. And again,
take care of your body and just make sure you. I think recovery is everything. I think if you're in tune to your body, you know what you need. This is Caitlin.
Even the court's members alluded to the problem. A teammate of Kelsey Mitchell Clark gently urged her to pay attention to her body's signals. A subtle acknowledgement that Caitlin was enduring suffering that most people would avoid. Fans saw that it was emphasized in media channels. The most pressing question now is who stands to benefit from the league's brightest star's departure and why she was left so exposed.
You guys, and they do not talk about it here. And that's why I also don't want us to personally attack some of these referees. I think they're doing their job. If they're hiring referees who basically didn't have any experience but high school refereeing jobs, and then they did a stint in the G League, like these referees actually aren't. I gained and reconfirmed with myself that not much is going to change.
However, the rabbit hole goes deeper. These officials aren't making decisions based only on their judgment. Behind the scenes, there is a competition committee that dictates how games should be officiated. This committee is made up of coaches, general managers, and stakeholders, not neutral parties, but people with a stake in particular outcomes. This isn't just conjecture. League insiders have confirmed it in interviews. Referees are being instructed on the level of physicality to allow which fouls to prioritize and what style of play is consistent with the league's branding, not necessarily what's fair. Caitlin Clark's presence upends this meticulously curated status quo. She introduces a new tempo and garners unprecedented media attention and draws attention to something that makes the current system uneasy. The rougher, slower, more physical game that the committee appears to like conflicts with her dynamic approach. The result is that she is subjected to excessive punishment in court without the defense she is entitled to.
Committee for stakeholders, coaches, governors, and general managers, and that is saying what style of basketball they want to allow, and the referees are following that.
That would immediately result in the NBA or even college games being canceled. No justice, no calls, just silence. Additionally, she encounters coldness from the officials when she asks for explanations. This isn't paranoid. There is systemic bias.
It took us halfway through the season. This year, it took us 4 games for Stephanie White to say, I've had enough.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games.
Clark repeatedly receives uncalled hits, and the smallest contact from her results in an instant foul. During a crucial game, Coach Stephanie White made an effort to contest one such case. However, she was prevented by an arcane regulation because she just had a reset and no full timeout. The officials were protected. Clarkton games are not the only ones who suffer from this type of complicated rule enforcement.
I see what's happening right here. That is a WNBA referee turning his back to Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Oh my God. I mean, he literally got his back turned, ignoring Caitlin. I mean, this is bad.
This has nothing to do with individual mistakes. It concerns a faulty system in which referees are held to hidden interests rather than the rules of the game or fairness. In addition to defenders, a system that is trying to dominate the story rather than protect its most valuable asset is targeting Caitlin Clark.
I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing.
It gets more apparent the more of it is made public. The officiating crisis is deliberate, not coincidental. The league may try to minimize the problem, but the criticism is growing. Concerns aren't just being voiced by fans. With Caitlin Clark at the center, players, coaches, and experts around the country are publicly critiquing the officiating. This isn't about trying to get favor. It's about calling for justice.
Only draw in your league, the only player capable of selling tickets, is potentially out for an extended period of time. What the hell are you gonna do now?
When referees routinely fail to call obvious fouls on a celebrity who receives unprecedented attention, fans begin to demand responsibility. During the matchup between the Fever and Liberty, one of the most talked about moments took place. Clark drove to the basket with the game on the line, but Natasha Cloud obviously fouled him. Replays from various angles showed that the contact was so clear, but there was no whistle or call. The game is over.
That situation. And I understand the frustration that I think comes the most with officiating is the inconsistencies of officiating. But listen, this is not unique to the WNBA.
And her teammates went straight to the officials to ask for an explanation, but they didn't give one. The officials just left. It made a strong statement to all spectators, not only Clark. Everyone experiences the whistle differently, and this wasn't a singular occurrence. Coach Stephanie White attempted to contest a dubious fall on Lexi Hull earlier, but league regulations forbade her from doing so because there was no full timeout. Unaware of the rule, fans believed White had erred. In actuality, a system intended to protect officials from scrutiny restrained her.
All right, when that foul took place, CBS said she's got a challenge left. Well, it didn't matter. She couldn't use it. Stephanie White could not challenge that foul call on Lexi Hull, the one that led to the game-winning free throws from Sabrina Ionescu, because she didn't have a timeout. You need a full timeout, not a reset timeout, to initiate the challenge. Now, my issue with that is it would have been nice if the CBS announcers hadn't even brought up the challenge.
The officials were protected by technicalities, while the players were left exposed. Now, frustration is not limited to Indiana. A live halftime interview was interrupted by Brittany Gurrier, who angrily criticized the referees national television at news conferences after games. Several coaches have called the officiating rude. These complaints go beyond simple emotional outbursts. They are strategic criticisms. Players and coaches are pointing out that the rules aren't being applied consistently, which is upsetting the rhythm of the game. However, the WNBA appears unresponsive, brushing off the criticism as growing pains from new fans who aren't familiar with the league's physical style, but that justification isn't sound. The lack of consistency is the problem, not physicality. The rulebook seems to alter the instant Caitlin Clark takes the court. She has more aggressive challenges and is officiated differently. When she perseveres, the referees ignore the till her death.
There's clearly a problem. If it's not just one team, also, by the way, it's not just the Indiana Fever. I know it's been the biggest story this week. Brittany Griner left a sideline interview to go yell at the ref.
Currently out due to a quad strain, she personifies a league scandal that won't go away. Those who are speaking up aren't only supporting Clark. They are exposing a culture that penalizes excellence and favors silence. Caitlin Clark never asked for preferential treatment. She aimed for the level of performance that every player should have, but the more she performs well, the more opposition she faces from both opponents and the system designed to protect her. The league underestimated a strong force, and as a result, the backlash is getting worse rather than better.
Did notice in the Liberty game, Caitlin Clark's shots were all very short. So it was showing that she wasn't like getting off and she was having a difficult time making those threes, and a lot of explosiveness from those 3-point shots does come from.
Fans are no longer just spectators. They are examining. With a once-in-a-generation talent, the WNBA has a fantastic chance to reinvent its destiny. Caitlin Clark didn't merely join the league, she electrified it. She packed arenas, broke attendance records, and drew in a fresh group of investors eager to purchase the product. However, rather than growing with her, the league seems to be collapsing, holding onto antiquated power structures while disregarding and
who had appeared in 185 consecutive games between her career at Iowa and her time with the Indiana Fever. 139 games with the Iowa Hawkeyes. She never missed one.
Obviously, Caitlin's carrying a lot on her shoulders. A big star that is coming to a lot of these buildings.
The spotlight Clark brought with her broke the closed-circuit accountability system that has existed in the WNBA for far too long, with referees reporting to committees, committees responding to stakeholders, and no one accountable to the public. She didn't look for conflict. She didn't want to represent a cause. However, when the elbows continued to come as the whistle.
But at the same time, the Fever were on the wrong end of some whistles, it seemed, in this game, and it's seemingly been that way for much of the season, and it's been a recurring theme where there's a level of physicality allowed against them, and they're not allowed to reciprocate on the other end. That particularly, of course, goes for Caitlin Clark.
It's officiating leadership structure and the hidden factors influencing the game. Because this problem will not go gone. Fans of Caitlin Clark will not allow it. The truth has already been revealed, and the media won't allow it. The only question now is whether the league will take action before it's too late. Safeguard, please CC below to express your support. To ensure that you never miss anything, like, subscribe, and enable all notifications. We'll see you in the next video. Click the video on the screen.